Hey, welcome to class. In today's class, we're just going to chill out and stretch. So get nice and cozy. And I'm going to introduce you to some mobility work in today's class that is going to be super beneficial for improving your range of motion. Now, I alluded to this in the introduction video that these specific exercises that I've been doing have really helped my practice. And I'm going to show you the progression of these exercises. So we're just going to start with just the flexibility, and then throughout the course, I'm going to teach you how to advance this to really accelerate your mobility. So let's just start off with a little bit of child's to dog. We've worked on this before, I think in day 1 or 2, but this is a great way to warm up our hips and shoulders. So stretch back into the child's pose, and then come forward, bring your hips towards your wrists, open up your chest and shoulders, feel your back muscles contract, and stretch back. And feel the front body close so that the back body can open. And as you come into up dog, it'll be just the opposite. As you feel your glutes engage, your back muscles engage, the front can open up. We're just moving with the breath. Exhale into child, slow the breath down. Inhale into up dog. So you've already been playing with how the breath is our window into the nervous system. And by slowing down the breath, we can calm the nerves so that we can move towards our full potential. If we come into these poses stressed out without the socks on, it's not about sweats and socks. Maybe you just feel really relaxed. I don't know about you. But through the breath and the socks, we're able to move a little bit deeper. Okay, now we're going to come into squat position, twisting. If you can't access a squat yet, you can't drop into this position, that's fine. You're just going to practice a modification, just a single leg. Here's the one leg of the squat. And then we're just going to twist back and forth 5 times on one side. If you're doing it from the squat, it looks like this. And then change sides, whether you're in the lunge or the squat. I would say that the squat is very advanced, so it takes someone with quite a bit of hip and ankle mobility and spinal mobility to be able to do this. It's not expected that you can do this week 1. This will probably take a few months practicing this one to be able to get there. All right. Then we'll go for hamstring stretching. So just waking up these muscles, warming everything up. A more advanced version would be the back leg straight as you stretch. Intermediate would be to elevate your hands with a block. Or chair. It's kind of in between the knee down and the up position. Change sides. So again, with the knee down position. Or the leg straight. Whatever your flexibility allows for. With these, you don't want to be forcing. You want to be able to stay relaxed, stay calm. Okay. Then going to do a preparation Cossack squat hip stretch modification. So we're going to lean side to side. Now my feet are turned out slightly and just lunging towards one heel, seeing how much my hip will allow to open up, and then the other. Now if you get very advanced at this, you might be able to drop your butt towards your heel as you rotate the other leg up. Or you might be able to go from an upright position. This would be the most advanced. It's what we'll work towards in the final stage, but there's all different levels. Maybe some of you are athletes and you've already trained these positions. You can just go towards the full deal. All right, and then from the wide-legged position, stretch forward and down, and then lift up halfway and rotate, twist. You can put your fingertips down for modification, and then change sides. Change sides, keep your body relaxed. Change sides, moving with your breath. Good, then bring your feet together. In the last part of the warm-up, let's drop the hips to the heels. Come into squat position. You might have to lift your heels to do that, or you might be able to keep them down. And then lift your hips and stretch your legs straight. Do that 8 times. And now we're on to our first static stretch. So we want to work on opening up the adductors and strengthening our outer hip muscles. So we're going to do this from a standing wide-legged position, eventually training the splits. Now we want these muscles to get really strong and flexible. So we're doing it standing, weighted, as opposed to doing it passively. This is what I really recommend. Now my toes are turned out just a little bit because in the full expression, we'll want to start to externally rotate the femurs to allow for the full depth. And I'm just going to go as wide as I can comfortably to where I feel a stretch. When I first started this, my feet were about right here, and that was all I could handle. So just go to the place that's appropriate for you. So what we're going to practice in these stretches is first just being in the shape and relaxing. And then we're going to practice engaging the muscles. We're going to practice isometrics to help to strengthen and mobilize in that range. The best way is through loaded stretching, loaded or weighted eccentrics. That is the best way to lock in your flexibility. But just positional isometrics is a great way to build a strength foundation. So I'll show you the loaded isometrics at the end of the course, the end of the 30-day challenge. Right now we're just going to work these loaded isometrics. Now this is a great routine that you can practice at the end of each one of your classes. You can just go right to these stretches when you're warmed up. And I highly recommend doing that throughout the challenge if you're interested in improving your range of motion. Now let's start the first isometric. So I want you to pretend like you're trying to squeeze your legs in, nutcracker legs. Now, don't go super intense all at once. You're going to ramp up the level of intensity, 10%, 20%, 30%. Now make sure that everything feels safe for you. Those muscles aren't freaking out. And if you can hold there at 30 and then take a breath in and then engage your whole body to help to create the squeeze effort, and maybe go to 35 or 40. And hold for 10. Keep it right there. Don't let it go below or above. 35 or 40. 5. Keep squeezing. 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly relax that. Now if you're feeling any discomfort, just walk it in a little bit. Go to a safe range and breathe. If you can add on, we're now going to try an isometric like we're going to try to lift the legs away, so that we'll be activating these muscles, TFL, medius, minimus, gluteus, and we want those to be strong so that you can pull your leg into this position on its own. So now pretend like you're lifting your legs away, and as you lift the feet away from each other, you might feel these outer hip muscles, butt muscles start to engage. Squeeze them suckers. And lift. Now it's like you have a walnut in between your butt cheeks and you're squeezing it as you lift your legs away from each other. Ramp it up towards 40% for 10, 9, 8. And slowly relax that. Now what's kind of cool after that is you might have lost some of the inhibition in the stretch so that you can go a little bit deeper. That's kind of cool. And remember, you have to get out of this position. So one thing that I like to have is something in front of me. So a chair, a stool or something. I can use this credenza to kind of heel toe my feet back in. Nice. Okay, now I alluded to you want to have these muscles strong in your outer hips to be able to take yourself into that position. So we're going to practice waking up those muscles. Lean into your left foot and then lift your right leg out to the side as much as you can. And hold there for 10. Reach through the foot like you're karate kicking. Push and reach. And release. Change sides. Reach through the leg, push. If you don't have good balance, you can put your hand on something for stability, and that should help with that until you get comfortable in this position. Should have mentioned that. But eventually you want to do it without. And release. Okay. Now we're going to come to the wall stretch. Now this is one of the most important stretches for your quadriceps and hip flexors. And for this one, you're going to take yourself over to a wall. And you're going to slide your shin as close to the wall as you can. Now when I started this, I kept my knee away from the wall a little bit. And then step your opposite foot forward. So you're in a lunge position. If you're more flexible, take the knee all the way to the wall. If you're not feeling much of a stretch in this position, then elevate your hands. Come up onto a medium or tall block or up onto your knee. But what I want you to make sure is that you're not just sinking into your lumbar spine. Instead, keep a lift through your belly so that the stretch goes into your hip flexors and quadriceps. And think of reaching your buttock gently down towards the back of your knee. Remember, you just want to be in a place where you feel the stretch is safe. So on a scale of 1 to 10, you should be at about a 5. If you feel your body fighting back, that's a sign you're going too far. Your nervous system is reacting negatively, and the stretch won't have as much benefit. You should be able to talk like this. Okay, now from here, we're going to swivel this foot inward along the wall, and then let it rest on the ground. And this is another great adductor stretch to help with your squat. Slow breath in through your nose and slower, longer breath out. Remember, your breath is what takes us into the nervous system to help to calm the nervous system, tell you it's okay in the stretch so that your body relaxes deeper and can go maybe a little bit deeper than it thought. Release that and change sides. So again, your body needs to feel safe. Go to a position that feels safe and connect to your breath. Once you feel connected to the breath and you feel safe, there's no apprehension, then maybe you can try going a little bit deeper. But I recommend training with just the hands on the floor if you're new to this one, just being there for the time. Then let the foot swivel inward. And you can even get a twofer while you're here. You can get a wrist stretch. You can turn your fingers out to the side, get a little forearm and wrist stretch. Or you could even, if it's available to you, turn the fingers all the way around. But it shouldn't feel painful on your wrists or elbows. Okay, slowly release that one. And your inner leg should feel nice and opened up now, as well as your hip flexors. And check out our next stretch. Sit with your legs wide apart. And then see if you can lean forward. Maybe you can touch your toes, maybe not. Maybe your hips are so tight that if you try to lean forward, you just hunch. So I want you to go with a flat back, whatever you can do. Might just be sitting up straight. Then we want to teach our hips to be able to lock in this position so that we can hold our leg up at this position, which is important for many of the standing poses in yoga. And to do this, you'll lean away from where you were a little bit and then see if you can lift the leg. So if you're upright, you have to lean back. If you're way folded forward, you just upright here. And then you see if you can lift your legs up. Just the intention of lifting the legs is good. Remember, if you were just seated upright, you might have to lean back to lift the legs. Put the hands behind you. Hold whatever you can for 10 seconds. Think of reaching the feet away from each other and away from the hips. And release that. Nice job. All right, now let's come to standing forward fold with shoulder stretch. Let's come to a forward fold position and then either clasp hands behind you, or if your shoulders are too tight, you can take a strap, towel, or t-shirt or sweater in between your hands. So whatever you got handy. Now, if your hips and hamstrings are very tight, you would want to bend the knees so that the whole spine can fall forward and down, instead of doing the pose like this with straight legs. It'd be a better stretch to have a little bend in the knees, like this. Then over time, you'll start to work the legs towards straight, but just as much as your nervous system can allow. These types of things take repeated practice, and we want to be practicing this sequence about 3 to 4 times a week to really see the benefits. And release that. Come back upright. Shoulders. Step your left foot forward, right knee down. Take your elbows up and overhead. As you take a hold of your right elbow, reach your right buttock under you as you draw your ribs in. Then side bend over to the left and turn your gaze up towards your right elbow. Gently reach the right buttock in and under you. Grip it slightly to help to open the front of the right hip. Breathe, slow, steady breaths. and release that. Change sides. Side bend with the little tuck of the buttock, and then turn your gaze up. The stretch in the front of the left hip comes from gripping the buttock in and under, and then the stretch for the armpit, shoulder situation, through the pull from your opposite hand, without losing the connection to your pelvis with your rib cage. Come back upright. Good. Now let's try that same stretch, but a little bit different. Now we're going to come into toes curled under, kneeling position. If this is too much on your knees, you'll support. You'll put a block underneath your knees. If you can go a little lower, that's cool. If you have too gnarly of a knee situation, then just stand on your knees for this one, or even just sit cross-legged. But eventually we want to start to stretch these toes because your toe mobility is directly related to your ankle and knee mobility. Stretch your arms up and slide your right hand between your blades. Use your left hand to stretch your right shoulder. For time under tension and a stretch, to really improve, we want to be working towards 1:30. So there's two ways you can do it. You can just hold the stretch for 1:30, like we did for the first big stretch, or you can divide it up. You could go 2 different stretches for half the time, or do 3 times for 30 seconds. Whatever is the best way for you to do it mentally. Change arms. Some people might get bored holding one stretch the whole time. All right, release that. And our final stretch now is for the splits. Now don't get freaked out. So I'm going to show you the most modified version, and this is just with the hips over top of the back leg, bent knee, and the front leg towards straight as you elongate your spine. So notice I'm not hunched over. If you have to hunch over to put the hands down on the ground, you'll use the blocks. If you can lower blocks or put fingertips on the floor, that's cool too. And if you don't have blocks, you can just use whatever you got. You might be able to, if you're totally comfortable in the pose, you could start to work the back knee and front leg further away from each other, depending on what you got going on already. But I'm just going to show this one for week 1. Encourage you to work on this triangle shape between your torso and your front leg. Change sides. And release. Now let's just see how much we can put that split into practice. What type of mobility do we have now? So lean into your left leg and see if you can lift your right leg up and behind you. Get your best lift that you can. You can have both hands on the ground, blocks, or you can try grabbing a hold of the standing leg. And don't force. but use your muscles to activate and reach. And then change sides. Just see how high, if this is as high as you can lift a leg, that's cool, no worries. Hopefully improve throughout the challenge. Release that. And after having done those stretches, let's just see how our squat feels. Good test to see. If you tried it at the beginning, you might be able to squat a little bit deeper. All right, well, thanks so much for joining me for this class. Let me know how it went for you, or if you have any questions about it. And remember to hit the like button when you're done with these videos. I appreciate that. And these stretches will really help with all of your yoga poses. So having good hip flexors, hip adductor mobility and strength, and hamstrings will help with all the standing poses, the seated poses. So if you're looking to really become more flexible and mobile, I'd recommend adding these stretches at the end of your class once you're all warmed up. And you don't even have to do the warm-up that I showed here. You can just go right to the stretches and practice those 3 times a week. That way you'd see great results from 3. If you really want to see fast results, you can do 4, but 3 is enough. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.